Welcome to the Lean Rocket Lab Startup Storytelling Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Markin, with my co-hostess, with the mostess, Alex Maston.
Oh, I thought you were going to say attitude.
All the jokes you make off camera, I try to leave some of them at the door. So.
Yes.
Well, hey, we have an extremely exciting and special episode today. Kind of breaking script and bringing in the full Lean Rocket Lab team to talk a little bit about the behind the scenes of Lean Rocket Lab, what we do, how we do it, how it works. And I think it's going to be an exciting and informative episode, and we're going to allow you guys to just look behind the curtain, meet some of the team members. So before we dive in, I will introduce. So first of all, you can't see her. She's behind stage, which is probably appropriate in terms of just her making things go around here and being super helpful. Sierra Simpson, our director of the lab space, is off camera.
What's up, Sierra?
What's up, Sierra? We have Zach Krobel here with us. Zach, what's happening?
What's going on?
Also
Zach.
the man behind the scenes.
Yeah. Zach is our man that makes it happen, director of operations, really kind of focuses on our manufacturing work and makes all the systems and processes go at Lean Rocket Lab. And then the guy who needs no introduction.
No introduction.
And his... my co-founder and partner in all things Lean Rocket Lab and other businesses and all that stuff, and just good friend Ken Seneff on the pod with us as well. What's up, Ken?
What's up? What's up?
Kenneth Seneff.
Guys, this is going to be wild.
It's going to be fun.
Alex, what are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking that I can't wait to talk.
We know
that.
It
kind of feels like the Diary of a CEO, where we're all about to debate what we're working on. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be great. We just decided to do this episode because we just get a lot of questions. Here normally on the pod, we interview other entrepreneurs. People come on, clients of ours, tell their story.
Yeah.
Legendary Jackson entrepreneurs. We've had all kinds of cool people on here and more to come. And I think we're going to pick back up with that next episode. Yeah. But we wanted to do a quick interlude and to talk about what we do at Lean Rocket Lab and how it works, how the room where it happens, to use the Alexander Hamilton reference.
That's a good one. That song's already playing in my head.
The room where it happens. I won't sing. That would be the death.
No,
Please
it's
do.
in everybody else's head.
Please do. That would be phenomenal.
There's a lot of things I feel like I bring to the table, Alex.
You do.
That's not going to be one of them. So we're not going to do that.
You should try.
Don't peer pressure me into that.
I mean, I think this is really good because this is kind of like an educational piece for people to maybe who don't understand how we do what we do, to understand how it works.
Yeah, I think, like other service-based businesses, but a lot of what we do is invisible. It's one-on-one meetings, it's behind the scenes, it's a lot of Zoom meetings and phone calls and connections being made, and just sort of like in the the nitty-gritty hard work of helping people grow their businesses, and it's not always like flashy, and sometimes people don't understand it. So we just wanted to take a second to talk about it and talk about how we do what we do, and we're going to dive deep. So hopefully I think this is going to be like a full episode here. We're going to cover all the grounds. So hopefully it's informative and exciting and all that stuff. So
I think it will be.
All right.
Get ready, buckle up.
For the next 3 hours.
Yes. This will take a long time. No, I'm kidding.
We won't do that.
No, we won't do that to you.
We have a gift on this podcast of keeping it moving.
Gift. I was like, we have a gift? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So first, just at a high level, for those of you who maybe don't know what we do at Lean Rocket Lab, I can just give a quick overview and then we'll dive in a little bit. But the lab is really an entrepreneurial hub. It's a connection point where we bring people together and we connect them with each other, with different resources, with entrepreneurial programs and kind of education designed to help them move their business forward. We connect them with mentors and coaches and technical experts across all different areas of their business. We help them find capital, whether it's investors or loans or various grants. We help them with really any barrier that would impede their growth and moving their business forward. And we do this across a few different verticals. We work with kind of manufacturing technology focused startups and businesses. We work with neighborhood-based businesses, other high-tech companies, solopreneurs, small teams, small manufacturers. And we just help them move forward with like a really specific intent and a huge amount of just resources and density and collaboration. And it takes a village, so to speak, our whole team, and then a lot of partners that we have and different groups that we work with make that all possible. I think that to kind of just really distill it down to the brass tacks, when people come in, we try to help them identify where they're at in terms of what we call readiness. And so these aren't our words. We didn't make these up. These are kind of industry words, but we evaluate them on their technical readiness, their commercial readiness, and their manufacturing readiness levels. And we say, okay, if you're at point A and you need to get to point B, what do you need to do that? So whether it's a class or a coach or a technical assistance provider or a grant to pay for some type of technical assistance, our goal is that we help that startup take their prototype further, or get their intellectual property cemented, or get a website launched, or get a bookkeeper or accounting help, or get in a class with other people that are in their industry. And so we have a very quantifiable and tangible way to help people advance in their readiness, to be more, to be closer to selling their product or manufacturing their product or making money or growing their business. And that's really what we're all about. And if you could just boil it all down, that's what we do all day.
That is what we do
right?
all day, every day. Yes.
Is that a fair summary, Alex?
That was a fantastic summary of what we do. I think it's like fair to say that we have a small but mighty team, but man, we can't do what we do unless we have our partners, right? So we are definitely an extension of this community and all the partners that help us do that too. So
yeah, I just think about it. I mean, really, we're like, in the early days, we did a lot of that stuff or try to do a lot of stuff. And I think one thing we've gotten really good at is we're like the tip of the spear to a bunch of really important resource providers. And so whether it's, the trusted network of service providers that we have access to that help people with, legal matters or financial matters or engineering matters or prototyping stuff, or whether it's the financial institutions that we're partnered with, like American One and some of these others that can help do
Flagstar
lending,
Bank,
Flagstar, True, or whether it's like the different funds that we work with or the programs through the MEDC or the federal programs that we're connected to, groups like JAMA and ShopRed and our work at AMTC. There's so much stuff that we're able to bring to entrepreneurs, small businesses, and startups. And I think that when you combine those things and you kind of mix them together, and our team has the expertise of when is the right resource, the right coach, or the right funding for that person to help them overcome that specific objective. I think that's why we've had just kind of a lot of success.
Oh, absolutely.
Helping people.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing people don't understand is that we are a nonprofit. We are a 501c3. A lot of people don't think of us in that way because we help we help people who want to make a profit, right? Yeah, right. So I think a lot of times our community doesn't view us in that way. So I'm very excited to be able to talk about how we're funded and how that works and how we're able to output this work and how we're able to help so many small businesses through those hurdles. So
yes, and it's crazy when you talk about that and think about that, because 7 years ago, Lean Rocket Lab didn't exist, and it was very much a labor of love. And Ken and I kind of launched on this initiative as entrepreneurs, as business owners. we had felt the struggle, and we wanted to create a place where we could help and pay it forward. And so, I don't know, Ken, I think it'd be cool before we dive into what we do today, if you talk a little bit about just how we got here, how we started, and why we did it, and what we love about this work. Because obviously our lives have changed a lot in the last 7 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
This is a passion project for sure.
Yeah.
And so maybe you could just kind of like tell the story, the old story, as they say.
The old story. Story time with Ken.
Story time with Ken. Okay. Yes, I'm ready.
Before we move off the topic, I just wanted to say, I think for anybody who's listening, if you are an entrepreneur, an entrepreneur that's in Jackson, Greater Jackson area, or wants to be in Greater Jackson area, They're starting a business. They're somewhere in their journey. Ain't no better place than Lean Rocket Lab to come get connected. Okay. At a minimum, just come meet some other entrepreneurs that are on the journey and that can do it with you in some regard. So that was really kind of the genesis, by the way, for starting Lean Rocket Lab. Brand and I are both entrepreneurs. We've done all kinds of stuff in our entrepreneurial journeys, from, when we were kids doing, lawn care stuff to, tech companies and sort of everything in between, all kinds of adventures. In 2018, Brandon and I were both in the process of exiting our businesses that we were in. And
mine looked more like unemployment, but
yeah, I wasn't far off. We just started looked at each other and said, man, there's just where are the entrepreneurs at in Jackson? We know they're around. And, Brandon spent a bunch of time in Ann Arbor Spark and going through their programs and got really inspired by that. I've been through other tech incubators and accelerator programs. And so we kind of knew what that looked like to have a community, to have this resource set. And we were looking around in Jackson. It was like, well, what's that look like in our community? And realized pretty quickly that it didn't exist. And so we said, well, true entrepreneurs, let's do it. Let's create it, right? Famous last words.
I know, right?
And so we just started down the path. And where we started, and I encourage any entrepreneur to do the same thing, we did a ton of discovery, a ton of research. And so what that looked like for us is we said, well, what do other communities do? Okay, we obviously knew Ann Arbor Spark. They were very gracious and spent a bunch of time with us, helping them see what they do. We went all over the state and really all over the Midwest, Chicago, Cincinnati, all over Detroit. And we toured all kinds of different facilities, different ecosystems. We met with all the leaders. I think of Ned Stabler and how he spent a lot of time with us graciously over at Tech Town in Detroit. And we just sort of took these little pieces from all these conversations. And when we sat back and said, okay, well, what can we be good at here in Jackson? In fact, what can we be the best at? And that's what drove the original vision for Lean Rocket Lab. And so we launched it with this idea that every town in every city is built by entrepreneurs. Okay, so to look around and say, well, there's just not enough of entrepreneurial activity happening in Jackson. This isn't Silicon Valley. It's simply not true. It just looks different, right? Every community is built by entrepreneurs. And so we started with that thinking, and then also kind of as a celebration of our heritage here in Jackson, being that we're a big manufacturing town. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows Jackson as the prison town, right? Yep. And so we dove into that and understood the history of Jackson as a manufacturing town and how cool manufacturing is. And manufacturing in Jackson, actually, I'm not going to get into it today in this podcast. Maybe it's a future episode. Nerd out with Jackson's history with Ken.
Yeah, we should get Ken as a guest, and that will be the topic. Okay.
After that will be the World War II episode.
But really, Jackson is the manufacturing powerhouse that it is today because of the prison. And so, anyway, we wanted to lean into all that and celebrate it. And that's how we started Lean Rocket Lab. And obviously, it's evolved a lot over the last 7 years. It's been really incredible to see how that's happened. But it came out of this desire to build this great community. Last thing I'll say is, in our discovery, what we learned is there's a few models. There's co-working spaces out there in the world. Okay, think places like WeWork, et cetera, right? There are business incubators. And typically when you say business incubator, people think about a space, a physical space where businesses get, started up, incubated. And then there are business accelerators. Those are kind of the three words or the three models that are most common out there. And we went to places that were strictly co-working, strictly incubator, strictly accelerator, right? What we landed on was, in Jackson, it makes sense to kind of do all three. And so that's where Lean Rocket Lab is this incredible co-working space, awesome physical place to come work. We have business incubator programs. That's where a lot of our grants and early stage coaching and all that kind of stuff comes in. And then the accelerator portion. Later stage, you're starting to grow. What do you need to help you accelerate and continue your commercialization efforts? That's the accelerator piece. And so we kind of smashed all those things into one thing and called it Lean Rocket Lab. So that's kind of the fun story.
And the only thing I would add to that, and we're going to try to thank people throughout this episode without making it too boring or nostalgic, but part of the origin story was we met Tony Hurst and learned about Peter Hurst and the AeroQuip story. And obviously with what we were doing with manufacturing and startups, we were inspired by that. And, you know, it takes money to do stuff like this. And we needed investment that looked like belief in us when it was much less obvious that this was going to be a good thing. And in Jackson, it was very uncharted, so to speak. And there's so many cool stories of people that in the beginning just kind of believed that we were, you know, guys that would see it through, that we would help people, that we would try to do a good job and be good stewards. And so, you know, I think about Tony and Karen and the Hearst Foundation in the beginning there. I think about our sort of like last second meeting with Patty Poppy and the Consumers Energy team, you know, sort of like hours before our first grant application was due, and their investment and belief in us and the matching funds that they got us, which enabled us to get our first MEDC grant and got us at the table in the state's ecosystem of sort of entrepreneurship. Think about Mindy Bradish Orta, and she was at the Chamber, I think, at the time.
Chamber, Anchor.
It's kind of the Anchor initiative. Yeah, it was kind of like our first investment, and the list goes on and on. You know, I think about Bob Smith in the building, and we were like, we're going to do this. And he was like, you're going to do what? And we're like, and we can't pay you any rent on day one. And, you know, but we will. And, you know, I just feel like we were crazy, but also these people were sort of Jackson's like business leaders at the time, and still are, many of them still are today, but they were people that were like, hey, we can pay this forward. And so we've tried to honor that, you know, as our lives have changed and the lab has grown over the last 7 years. When people come into the lab, we don't look at them with this like any kind of way other than just, man, if there's a way we can help this person who's showing some signs and has some the sort of like sparkle in their eye, we're going to try to figure out a way to help them, because that's like how this whole thing was born. And so I just would be remiss if I didn't say part of that like origin story was a bunch of people that took a chance on us when it was
You couldn't see it. You couldn't see it yet.
But it was an abandoned candle shop, and we were, you know, a couple unemployed jokers at the time. So, all right, cool.
Story.
So we've reminisced properly.
Love it. I
We've
love
reminisced.
it.
You know, it's been good. So I want to just, from that moment of when we started and we had an idea and a pitch deck, and sort of the lab was an entrepreneurial vision in and of itself. We got it off the ground and we opened, and our first entrepreneur walked in the door, and I won't say who it was, but I remember it. We were like, we got one. We have a person out.
We got one.
You know? And it was really cool today. And I just asked Alex, you know, if you want to understand, if you're out there, whether you're a foundation or an investor in the lab, or you're an entrepreneur and you're curious about what it looks like today, I just asked Alex to kind of walk through what's the Lean Rocket Lab's impact been in this last year. What's it look like today?
Well, I mean, if you're looking at how many people that we serve a year, that's over 100 small businesses, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, high-tech innovators, whatever. We serve over 100 a year. And that means that whether they come through our door, they give us a call, or they go online and they fill out an intake form, every single one of them meets with me. And I meet with them for 20 to 30 minutes just to give them up to speed of what we do here at the lab and how we can help them, and really honestly to dive deep into what they're working on and how we can help their story and what does success look like to them so that we can get them there. And I mean, I've been at the lab staff since 2024, and every single year that we put together our metrics, you know, from the previous year, because we have to do that for our state grants, for our local donors, just since 2025. I mean, in 2026 we served 42% more. In 2025, I'm sorry, compared to 2024, we served 42% more businesses than we did the previous year. We increased our first-time engagements, meaning people who had never walked through our door before, by 9%, which is quite significant if you think about it. And then for our like underserved population, whether you live in a rural address or you don't maybe get as much help from, you know, capitals and, you know, whatever it may be, we served 51% more of those individuals than we did the prior year. That's amazing. And then we increased our funding by like 21%. So we gave away more grant funds by 20% than we did the previous year. So we're helping entrepreneurs understand what success looks like to them through a conversation. Then we're giving them resources to help them with that, whether that's a connection to a service provider that can help them. Maybe that's a tool they can use. Maybe that's a program that will really help them with whatever specifically they're working on, if it's education. And we're also having funding availability, whether that's through grants, which we have many grants that you can get through programming, or our partners through lending, through micro lending. I think that our team and our partners, how small we are, we do big, big, big impact for this community. And not only in Jackson, this is Tri-County, so I'm talking Hillsdale and Lenawee County as well. When we're looking at our impact, it's regional.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think that the metric that has been exciting for us is that in the first quarter of 2026, we worked with more new small businesses and startups than we had worked with in all of 2025.
Yes, I think I said the wrong date. Thank you.
Yeah, you're good. No, that's okay. That's it's work.
No, you're right.
Co-host.
Yeah, that's right.
Co-host,
No, keep me on track. Keep me in line.
But I mean, 100 in a quarter or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. It sounds like, I don't know if that number sounds big to you or not, but if you think about 100 business owners who have a idea or a vision and they're on a various stage, whether they're a startup or a small manufacturer or a small business, whether they're brand new or they have a couple employees or they're making money or they're post revenue, post profit, wherever stage they're in. And we work with like a wide spectrum from, later stage technology companies to neighborhood businesses that are, one person with an idea.
Yep.
There's 100 different businesses that are trying to make impact and trying to change their community and have economic mobility. And it's just pretty exciting. And so I don't know what happened. Something in the last 18 months, I think as we've all analyzed it and looked at it, the number of people that have walked through the doors at Lean Rocket Lab has like hockey sticked upward. We're just helping more people. We're getting better at helping people. Yeah. The results are better. The system's more dialed in. I think about some of the really big, cool, success stories and companies that we're seeing out there. I think about some of the people we've had on the podcast, like Josh and Aimling and Sean with Vertical coming on next month.
Yeah.
To some of the neighborhood businesses who have gotten loans and opened up brick and mortars and everywhere in between, and the manufacturing tech companies and the work at AMTC. Something's changed in the last year, and it's probably you and Zach. I don't know, and Ken and
I. Yes, I will agree. It's Zach and I. But I'll also say we also really dialed in our marketing. I feel like our marketing has really been really focused and intentional, and that's really helped get people who we want in the door. Because we've seen an increase in tech businesses too, which we've always struggled in Jackson to get. And man, I mean, we've had no problem now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really exciting to see, and I really feel like we're just getting started a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And Ken, you can speak to this, but like we don't care about these metrics in one sense.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter. It just matters in the sense of like we're trying to have impact and trying to help real businesses and have real, sort of impact and change, I guess. And so from us all pouring our hearts into it for a long time and it feeling slow at times, and to all of a sudden see this like uptick, and the businesses that we're helping are doing better and we're getting better. It feels like we're on to. I don't know, you can jump in on that or whatever, but
yeah, for sure. I think in our community, so we need small businesses, right? And if you think about economic development, a lot of traditional economic development says, hey, we're going to attract these big companies, these big projects. They're going to build these big buildings and hire 1,000 people to come work at this plant, which is fantastic. And that's a great component of economic development. But the other side, or the tech businesses, the rapidly expanding tech businesses. The other side of that, though, is you need to have a community people want to live in, right? And if you think about what makes up our community and why you live here, is part of that is the awesome small businesses that we have, the great restaurants and the great activities and the things that we do. All of that contributes, right? You need to have employers, big, small, and you need to have great local businesses. And so when we think about our community, we're thinking not just the, high-tech Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, right? Which I don't know. I haven't checked, but I don't think Mark lives in Jackson. So
Nope, he doesn't.
I'm pretty sure he actually has a bat lair in Hawaii. I think I saw actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like his car's underground.
Oh my
It's-
gosh.
Yeah, it's very.
why not?
It might be here. It might be here. We don't know.
He's like hiding from all the governments trying to watch him.
Would you? Anyways, yeah.
So, okay, we can spend all of our time trying to find the next Mark Zuckerberg, to, hopefully raise up in our community, right? And that's good and important. We need tech companies, and we need to attract big companies that want to be part of our community. But we also need to support the small businesses, because the small businesses are what make up the culture, the backbone, the reason you want to live in Jackson and not somewhere else, right? And so I think that's another thing that's shifted in our thinking, is that instead of just focusing on the manufacturers, or the manufacturers that could be hundreds of employees, and the tech companies, we said, hey, let's think about our community holistically. And a great holistic economic development strategy includes a great community with great employers. And so you start to encompass that. It'd be fun to have this podcast again in another 6 years. Right. Just to kind of look back and
We
see.
will.
how it
I mean,
goes.
no doubt about it, right? Because I think what we've seen is like we could probably, we won't on this podcast, but we have our hands on the pulse, and we're seeing who are the manufacturing companies, the small manufacturing companies that in 5 and 10 years will have like legitimate economic GDP moving impact in Jackson. We know who they are. We've been working with them and helping,
Right.
and like those take time.
Mm-hmm.
And simultaneously, though, we're helping the person that is opening up the restaurant or the boutique or whatever, and everyone in between, and like seeing those play out over the last 7 years and over the next 7 years, it's really pretty exciting.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say about that is I think the other thing that if we've done anything right at Lean Rocket Lab is to open the door wide of our community to say, hey, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a small business, come do it here.
Right.
There, we've got this great ecosystem to support you, a great community that wants to help you succeed. Come do it here. I was looking at some stats the other day. The Small Business Administration, 2025 was the highest year on record for new business formations.
We're talking about that in class.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was over 5.5 million businesses that started in 2025. And so I think, a lot of things are at play with that. I'm not going to get into the macroeconomics of that, right? But we're in a zone of entrepreneurship is alive, right? People are solving real problems every day by starting businesses, and that's pretty cool.
No doubt.
And so part of that for us is saying, hey, come do it here in Jackson. And it's been fun to watch the inflow of people that are like, what's going on over there in Jackson? That's a pretty cool spot. I think I want to be a part of that. And I think I want to bring my family, my business, my network, into that community. And so that's been pretty fun to watch.
I think the other thing about that I've seen, as far as like if we look at like what kind of changed, is the word of mouth and the referral from participants in our programs.
Yeah.
They go and tell 20 people, and then I got people calling me going, I gotta find this girl Alex. Where's Alex? I gotta talk to her about this program.
Right.
They just all want to know what is it? I've never heard of this place. My friend told me to come over.
Yeah, and I think we also got a little bit better too. In the beginning, I always assumed it'd be like the person that we helped go. We our first workshop, we literally called it napkin to NASDAQ, and I was like, that's what they're all gonna look like.
I remember
the person's
that.
gonna walk in with an idea, and then we're gonna help them like exit in 5 years. And instead we're working with those companies as well. But I think we've gotten way better at like, oh, you're at a 2 and you want to get to a 3, or you're at a 7 and you want to get to an 8. And we've just gotten really dialed in at helping the startup, but also helping that our mindset has shifted way more as to less about how old you are per se, and to, are you like a growth minded early stage company?
Right.
Because a lot of times, like the manufacturing companies, for example, they might be more than 18 months old. They've been around for a few years, but they're early stage, they're growth minded, they want to advance. And we've just gotten way more dialed in helping those people as well, as opposed to just only the person with a napkin drawing or something.
Right.
And so I think we've been figuring it out along the way too. But all right, I'm gonna keep us moving. We're gonna run out of time reminiscing about how great we are if we don't keep going.
We've gotten to C. No, I'm kidding.
Nobody cried any tears. That's good.
I mean, it's if you're listening to this and you're like, what are you guys talking about? You just have to understand, we care a lot about this work. We've been trying to do it well. And we've, there's been times where we're like, we're the best, and times where we're like, we suck. And then there's been times where we suck again, So we're trying to figure it out. But
That's right.
all right, so Zach, I want to throw it over to you, and I just want to hear a little bit about if I'm like an early stage, manufacturing technology company, or an early stage hardware business or whatever. And I walk in the door at Lean Rocket Lab. Just talk a little bit about what the process looks like, what you're going to experience, what we do, how we try to help, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a good thing to like step back from, right? We talk a lot about like, hey, we're here to help businesses, we're here to help people, come talk to us, all that. But like, what do you actually do?
What do you actually do, right? That's what people always say.
Like,
Right, yeah.
People always come to us and they're like, well, are you going to do this for us? And we're like, well, let's talk
Get that
about
a lot.
sometimes the answer is yes. Most of the time it's probably no.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for anybody who's considered high tech, if you're making a product, if you've got some new idea and it's like a widget, if you're doing something in software and you're doing something that's not like a Main Street style business, brick and mortar, something like that, and you walk through our door, you're going to fill out a form online. You're going to meet with us. You're going to meet with Alex, and you're going to talk about where you're at, where you want to go, what you think is in front of you in the next, 2 months, 6 months, a year. And we're going to get done. We're going to understand your goals and all these things. Simultaneously, during that form that you fill out, we're going to ask you a bunch of questions, and you're going to give us these scores. You're not going to do anything yourself, but you're going to score yourself essentially on your technology readiness, your manufacturing readiness, and your commercial readiness. And these are not like scales that we've made up or anything. We're smart, but we're not that smart. So we borrow them from NASA and the DoD. And they're scales that just tell us like how far along are you on these journeys. And so like if you're developing a physical product and you just have an idea, you're going to be really early in all of these. If you are developing a physical product, but you have gotten a prototype to work, you're going to be pretty far on this TRL scale where we measure, the technology readiness, but you're going to maybe be not very far along on the manufacturing scale where we're trying to figure out like, can you make 20, 50, 100 of these if you got an order? And if you've, figured out a lot of that stuff, then you're starting down this commercial path of, can I actually go to market? Can I find who my customers are? And can I sell that? And so we're going to help you figure out where you're at on those scales without you having to put in much effort. So we're just going to ask you some pointed questions. We're going to talk about it when we meet with you. And what that scale really does is it helps us identify, what do you actually need to go do next? If these scales are on 1 to 10, if you're a 2 on the technology readiness scale and you're trying to talk to us about where do I find my customers, well, you're probably not ready for that yet. And so we're going to have that conversation about like, okay, well, how do we actually help you down this path of, prototyping or whatever it is that you happen to need. And so we're going to come alongside you and we're going to help you identify what do you need to do now, and then help you do those things. And so sometimes that means we're going to have some resources like Alex mentioned that we can send you. You're going to fill them out. You're going to go through this process and think about it. And you're going to come out with like, okay, well, I've thought about it. I've progressed to the next step. And then we're going to meet again. We're going to go from there. Sometimes it's going to be, we know somebody who would be awesome to come alongside you and help you out. And so we're going to help you get connected with those people or those organizations that are really good at the things that we're not good at. Really good examples of that, or if you need to protect your ID with IP, well, none of us are lawyers or attorneys. And so, but we've got some people in our network that are really good at that stuff. And so they're going to come alongside you and help you because that's a really important part of the technology and manufacturing software businesses. And so we're going to go through that process with you. We're going to walk alongside you. And then we're also going to help you find other ways to plug in. And so the other ways we have to serve you other than just coaching and meeting with us we call them collectives and we call them programs. And so collectives are launching soon. We do this on the small business side, but we're going to be doing it on the technology side as well. Are just ways where you can plug in with other people doing similar things. And so we talk a lot about this at the lab, but you need people around you that are also trying to be entrepreneurial, that are trying to experiment with stuff that you can bounce ideas off of that maybe have done before or haven't gotten as far as you. And you just get to talk with these people and essentially kind of like do life with other people that are trying to be high tech in business. Or if you're a small Main Street style business, you can do it with those kinds of people too.
Yeah, I think we learned early on that like it was important for people to plug into what we were offering, but it was almost just as important for them to meet other people
Absolutely.
who were just trying to do the same thing.
Yes.
So we never had like a structured or organized way to do that.
Yep.
We were it was happening organically. And so finally we sort of like gave it a name and a structure, and we're excited to bring that out. But the idea that if you're working on something, you can meet 10 or 15 other people that are working on something similar, and you guys can help each other out.
We decided we're not like the only important people that.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
You can talk to other people
Yeah.
as well.
That's right. Took us a long time to figure it out.
Yeah, I think we should have a future episode on collectives. You know, I'm sure we will
Yeah.
for our
Sure.
our collective champions and dive deeper on that. But like at the highest level, that's the idea for that is it's kind of more structured than like a meetup, right? Everybody's heard of meetups or whatever, or like a book club even. But not quite as structured maybe as like a BNI type group.
Right.
And BNI groups are very valuable for people. This is probably somewhere in the middle, where it's a networking group. It's not just let's get together and have coffee. There's some structure to it.
Yeah, so our first one, just so everyone's aware, they're probably going to be passed by the time this airs, but we are going to be starting our Main Street Collective workshops. And the first one is on mental health, and we're actually bringing in somebody who's an expert on it to actually have a presentation on it, and then there's networking involved. So that's kind of an example of how you can tap into the ecosystem without being in a program. You can meet others at that workshop,
Yeah.
It's awesome.
and it's free of charge.
And then maybe like Zach walk through. So the collectives are really an organization of people that are working on similar things, and we're bringing resources into those communities, which I think is really important. Building community is such an important part of entrepreneurship. And then the other kind of pillar of what we do is the programs. And maybe just talk quickly about like, so you were talking about like commercial readiness levels, and we might identify that you're at a certain stage on the commercial readiness scale, and we might recommend that you participate in our sales and marketing accelerator. And maybe you could just walk through what that would look like.
yeah.
And that's just an example of one of our programs, obviously.
Yeah, the programs are just a little bit more, let's say, formal, tangible ways than like a collective to kind of plug in. So a program is like, hey, I'm going to sign up for something. I'm going to go through this. So it's going to be more like a class style thing. So I'm going to show up to something for somewhere between 6 and 12 weeks, depending on which one it is. And you're going to get trained on a bunch of stuff. And so one of the programs that we have is called the Sales and Marketing Accelerator. And so for those businesses that, okay, I've got my technology to a spot where I can start talking to people about it. Now I need to go do customer discovery, or I need to go get customers, or whatever that is. So that program specifically is designed to help businesses go through a 7-week crash course on sales and marketing stuff. And so you're going to come out of that with a bunch of knowledge and then potentially some grant funding. We got other programs where we're doing similar stuff, but maybe the topics are a little bit different. But they're mostly cohort based. You're going to come, you're going to plug in, you're going to attend something on a weekly basis. You're going to have resources at your disposal. You're going to meet experts in the field, and you're going to come out of it. And there's a good chance that there's going to be some sort of funding or something sweet tied to the end of that, where you can go achieve, milestones or whatever things you've identified after going through that. So we got sales and marketing. We have local for Main Street and neighborhood-based businesses. We have our Manutech incubator, which is programs and resources available to specifically very high-tech businesses. And then we have an Industry 4.0 accelerator for specifically manufacturing technology startups.
Yeah, that's great. So Zach, I just want to double click on something you said, and maybe you can just give us some examples. So we talk about the readiness levels, and the idea is once you work with our team and you identify what the next steps are, what we try to do is connect you with maybe it's a technical assistance provider or a service. And then usually it requires some funding, whether it's a design for manufacturability analysis or prototyping, or maybe it's the intellectual property work. And our goal is to connect you with a grant to actually help you accomplish that milestone. So whether it's a milestone grant through our local program, and maybe you can give an example, Alex, of one of those, or it is a business accelerator fund grant through our, MEDC gateway program that we have access to. Maybe you give an example of what a business accelerator fund, I don't know, maybe the last couple you worked on with startups and what those were for and what they looked like. Just help us understand that.
Yeah. Business Accelerator Fund is one of the programs underneath that Manutech incubator umbrella. And so it's for those very high-tech businesses. The goal of that program is let's identify a specific milestone that you as an organization aren't very good at. It's not in your normal working capacity. It's not It's not something you want to do or have the ability to go do. And so we worked with a AI software-based startup a couple months ago. They identified that they needed to work with a patent attorney to get IP. And it was going to be a really big deal because they're one of the first people to go to market with this specific kind of idea for the industry. But it costs money to do that. You know, it costs $7,500 to do that. And that's real money. And, you know, not everybody just has $7,500 laying around. And so we came alongside him and we said, we can get you funding through the Business Accelerator Fund program to pay this attorney to get you the IP that you need so that you can go do the market validation and stuff where you're not at risk of exposing your idea. Coming out of that sales and marketing accelerator program, we had multiple businesses that were awarded grants through Lean Rocket Lab. Those businesses had learned a bunch of sales and marketing focused things. And a couple of them realized that, hey, I need to do ad campaigns. I need to have ad campaigns built around a message that I created after going through this program with video on my pages, but I can't afford to pay a videographer, a website designer, and somebody to launch a paid marketing campaign. And so we could fill that gap by with those companies. Okay, that's like very clear milestones and things identified that you can work with someone to execute. Help them get connected with the right people. We've got a big network at the lab of people in this marketing space. And so we made connections, and then we were able to provide them the capital they needed to go do that work, launch those campaigns, and get the data they needed to move forward and make the next step.
Yeah, and I was thinking maybe without naming names, just from a confidentiality standpoint right now, but the one we're working on with the SBDC, the MBDC right now, I think that's a good example of like a manufacturing startup that we're helping. Can you just walk through what that one looks like too?
Yeah, so that one's a physical product, and they've identified 3 different upgrades to the current tech stack that they need to make. And so it's a drone company, and there's like a lot of very strict and regulated stuff related to how you take off and land and how you navigate in airspace and all this stuff. It's way over my head for sure. But when you're talking about doing that work, like it's very complicated engineering and software based work. And so there's only a handful of people that are qualified to go do it. And so we can, through that program, we've been able to help this company get connected with an organization that's qualified to do that sort of engineering work, which is also extremely expensive because it's super technical and you have to be super qualified to do it. But for the drone company, if they can't figure that out at scale, you can't make a bunch of units and go sell them and go to market. And so it's a really big deal. It's kind of a stopgap. And so through BAF, we are helping fund that. And you're talking like upwards of $50,000 for something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Alex, I don't know if you want to give a example of some of like the neighborhood-based businesses.
Oh,
and what
yeah,
the
yeah.
milestone grants look like for maybe just one of those.
Yeah, so I mean, for my program, a local program is their neighborhood-based, service-based businesses. We've been doing this program since 2022. We have a lot of successful stories that come out of that, but 2 that I can think of. One is in Lenawee County. We actually helped a business that was just starting up. She had actually renovated an entire dog grooming facility into a wellness spa. And what we helped her do is she went through my program. At the end of it, she got a milestone grant and she actually rebranded herself. She made all the steps to make that rebrand happen. And then we paid for the rebrand. And that was working with a marketing agency to make sure that that was all done. Her signage, her website, all of her branding was, top notch. And then, another one we had recently in Jackson is he was a barber and he has a brick and mortar, but he wants to take it mobile. And so what we did is he used his milestone grant to purchase an enclosed trailer, which he will renovate into a mobile barber shop. Incredible. And so, just some of the different ways that we can help businesses overcome barriers as far as growing.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So, just to kind of zoom out for a quick second, we said we would make this podcast move along quickly.
It's 45 minutes.
Whoever's listening to this right now, hope you find this riveting.
It's riveting.
But I think it's really, I'm not aware of a lot of organizations like Lean Rocket Lab out in the world where, we're helping high-tech manufacturing-focused businesses that are building the next generation of technology in the aerospace universe to, a local barber that's trying to revolutionize his business, right?
Yeah.
But my example, though, you need great company to have a great local economy. You need great companies, right? Manufacturing technology companies, but you also need great businesses. That's what makes your community. And so it's really kind of been fun to kind of zoom out and watch how Lean Rocket Lab kind of lives in both of those universes, to kind of go back to how we, started Lean Rocket Lab and what the vision for it was, and how it's supporting our local community. I think is a pretty unique model, and it's been pretty cool to see,
Yeah, the amount of intelligence and wisdom we have in many different industries. It's insane, actually.
Well, without like
impressive.
going super deep on that stuff, because we do have to keep going,
Yeah.
I guess. But I think it's worth just for the folks that are listening and trying to understand better what's available. Zach, maybe just like take a minute, talk a little bit about like the I4O accelerator, and then Alex, if you would, just dive in a little bit on like what the fellows program looks like, so that if you're out there and you're trying to figure out what do I do next, where do I fit in, just like maybe you could walk through what that looks like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in today's day and age, everything is like, how do I implement some new solution, something that's AI or that has robotics in it or something from a manufacturing standpoint to like be a modern business, right? But if you're in reality, we talked to a lot of small and medium manufacturers, and who in the world has the time to do that, let alone go and find the right company to come in and deliver a service like that. And so that's what we are trying to help solve with the I4O accelerator. Is we do know that our small and medium manufacturers here in Michigan, and especially locally here in Jackson, Lenawee, Hillsdale counties or South Central Michigan region, there's a need for these kinds of technologies, but it's really hard to go find them, to scout them, to make sure you're talking to one that's real and has done business before, and not just like posting some AI slop out on the internet and you happen to see it. And so we have a team of experts, people that have spent 30, 40 years in manufacturing, and so they get it. They've, adopted solutions in the past that help us talk to these manufacturing startups from all over the globe, make sure we know who's real, and also what problems these companies solve, and that they actually solve what they say they can solve. And then when we talk to the small and medium manufacturers and we hear that like, hey, I'm looking for a robot that can, do pick and place, and it can move a aluminum blank from, location A into the machine, wait for it to, finish running its process, and then remove it so that somebody can do a quality inspection. Well, we now understand the problem statement, and so we can tell them exactly what kind of solution provider they should be talking to, and we kind of help just do some matchmaking and create connections there. It's been really fun. I mean, we've been able to see the impact that it has in our small and medium manufacturers, and just solving a problem of they don't have to send people to trade shows or spend time searching online for these solutions. And we're not, working for the startups or anything. We don't get paid anything to do that sort of work. And so there's no risk per se for, a manufacturer to kind of talk to us and see if a company is worth looking for. Yeah, it's super good.
For the local program or fellows program, this is for our neighborhood-based, service-based businesses, downtown, brick and mortars. This, I think back to COVID, and at that time, I was the economic developer for this county. And one of the things that we had to do during COVID was take all of the money through the state government, through Patty Poppy and Consumers Energy, and make sure that money got funded to all the small businesses that were struggling. One of the things that became immediately clear to me is that all of the small businesses, probably 90% of them, did not understand their finances, because we specifically asked them for their financial statements so that we could see where they were. And I'm not even joking when I say 90% couldn't even give me a spreadsheet. So it became very clear, and obviously y'all saw that with Christy Myers bringing this program, to fruition in 2021, really right when that was really needed. And so this program basically teaches small businesses, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs who are in this neighborhood-based, service-based kind of industry, wanting to help and support others through service, through a business boot camp. And this boot camp is 12 weeks long, and we really dive in. It's very competitive. You have to apply. You have to go through like a Shark Tank style pitch for 5 minutes. You'll black out. It'll be fine. And then we only take 12. We only take 12 into the boot camp, and this is a 12-week boot camp. And it's in-person, mandatory. I think that's the secret sauce of why our program is so good and we get such great feedback from it, is because they really create a network within that cohort and they support each other. And really the ecosystem is we bring in an expert, somebody who's an expert on the topic that they're talking about. And for us, that's heavy in finances and heavy in marketing. And so we bring in experts, people who do this for a living, to come in and teach them for 2 hours what they know and what they do for people every day. And then they get it for free. And so we really have an ecosystem where we bring in these small businesses, we train them, we bring in an expert, we pay them, and then sometimes they use their milestone grant to hire those experts to do the service that they need. And so it's really a fantastic just program to be able to uplift our community, not only for the small businesses that we're training, and also giving them milestone grants to get over that barrier of whatever it is that they're being stuck on. But we're also helping our small business community who are established and know what they're doing and are experts in their field. And so it's a win-win for everyone. And the fact that the state and the Mission Economic Development Corporation believes so much in small business and entrepreneurship that they want to invest in that in these small business support hubs, huge. And then our local, Walters Family Foundation, Flagstar Bank, American One Credit Union, all of these people who believe in our small businesses and understand the importance of what Ken is saying as far as people, place, and projects and placemaking, all of that is important. And that comes down to small business.
Yeah, I feel like when we drive around downtown and walk around in this community and we see the small businesses that have popped up and that we've been a part of and helped, it's like you have a little bit of like, man, I'm proud of that. Like all those people, super cool.
So cool.
All right, at the risk of fully putting to sleep anyone who's still
We're going to go over 1 hour. I feel it.
No, we're going to land this plane. But I think people ask us this, people who are investors in the lab ask us this, people who are, our clients and our friends, just how the heck is Lean Rocket Lab funded and how does it work and how do we make this work and how do we be able to not charge for almost all of our services and maybe Ken, you could just like walk us through that and
For sure. So we're always looking for new funders.
Start with a pitch in disguise.
So we're gonna walk you down this path, and we're gonna club you at the end of it. No, so how we get funded is actually a pretty unique approach, I think. So Brandon and I are entrepreneurs. We didn't originally think about Lean Rocket Lab as a nonprofit, right? But it became pretty abundantly clear that it made a lot of sense because what we're able to do, because we're a 501c3, we're able to apply for and secure state and federal level funding. Okay, and so one of our main funding sources is the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Okay, so they fund some of the overhead, staffing, et cetera, on our in our P&L and our budget. Also, we leverage some of the state money to get grants, get money from the economic development funds, and then grant those back out with following the set of rules that are established, et cetera. Okay, so state and federal level grants, we get incredible support from our community, from foundations that believe in the mission and that align with the idea that you can change a community through entrepreneurship. And so we're just thrilled and blessed to have the partnerships that we have. And then we do have some revenue producing things. We're not purely a charity. We have a fantastic co-working space right in the heart of downtown Jackson. By the way, anyone out there listening can come and use the space for as little as $115 a month. You get a 24/7 membership access to the building.
You get to hang out with us.
We also have an awesome cafe called Cafe Fuel in the front of the building. And if you are a member at Lean Rocket Lab, you get to have free fuel coffee. So that's a good time.
And the best food. They have the best food, y'all.
And we now have ice cream, soft serve ice cream. So
ice cream, let's go.
Get a avocado.
I was going to say that too, avocado.
Affogato.
Thank you, Ken's fancy. So obviously, who came up with that.
Ice cream and espresso. That's what that is.
So so we have some revenue that comes in from our co-working space. The idea with that was, we're never going to get rich running the co-working space in downtown Jackson. At least that wasn't our vision. Hopefully we do. We'll see. But it really is kind of a break-even endeavor. It allows us to have this awesome place to do our programming, We have our education center, our meeting rooms, et cetera. And then we do some licensing of our programming. So other communities that have seen what we've done in Jackson sort of like pay us in a sense to help them do that in their communities. And then we've got kind of a new funding methodology or expanding funding methodology, I should say, that we're going toward. I guess I'll let you speak a little bit to that too, if you want to.
Talk about the Smart Zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're working on that. Smart Zone is really a designated district of where you can actually collect tax increment financing, which is the increase in taxes from, whatever's happening there, a new building being put in, whatever. And that money can be put back into that district to help it with either business incubation or infrastructure or things like that. So we are working on extending our Smart Zone for Jackson County.
Working with Accelerate Jackson
Yeah,
County.
working with Accelerate Jackson County.
And the MEDC on that.
Yep, and the Blackman LDFA.
Yep. And then I think a thing worth mentioning that we're particularly proud of, I guess, is we've sort of drummed up 2 other revenue sources. We always knew that Jackson was a small community, and most of the other Smart Zone or business incubators in the state of Michigan largely are connected to research universities and, huge foundations. And we knew it would have to look a little different here, but we came up with a bunch of really kind of just what we think were creative ways to fund the lab, and also things that were a reflection of us doing a good job, I think. Like in addition to our co-working space and the cafe, which all the proceeds from the cafe go to help Lean Rocket Lab, and so like we launched the cafe for that reason. But we've also been able to license our programming to other communities. So the local program has been really successful. And we've been able to partner with Hillsdale and Lenawee County and essentially kind of bring the local program to their communities. And we've also been able to actually leverage some of the premium services in the past from like groups that were interested in our tech vetting capabilities to the I4O accelerator, some of the large manufacturers like Ford and GM and others, where they've actually paid Lean Rocket Lab and some of our partner organizations to bring them technology companies and do the tech vetting for them. And so some of that actual kind of commercially valuable work has also helped seed Lean Rocket Lab. And I want to just, touch on the MEDC thing real fast. I mean, we would be not where we are today without the MEDC, and they're sort of getting a lot of flack constantly in the news or whatever. And, I'm not here to make political statements, but our relationship has been extremely successful with the MEDC, and it's worth noting. People hear the word, and I would have been guilty of this as like a not in this universe before Lean Rocket Lab, getting a grant like it's this bag of money that somebody like drops off to you. It's really not at all how it works. It's actually, in our experience, they're essentially government contracts to deliver services in an area, and they're extremely competitive. And we've applied for these different grants over the years, and we've sort of secured the right to efficiently and effectively deliver services like helping startups and helping small businesses and helping manufacturing companies and whatever the different grant calls for that's aligned with our mission. And we have to sort of like manage those budgets and deliver those services and report on those kind of key performance indicators. And we find it to be the grants that we apply for and the grants that we've gotten through the MEDC have been very aligned with our mission and vision, and they've helped us move forward in major ways. And so we're the gateway representative for the MEDC, which is a program that supports high-tech innovation and entrepreneurship. We're the small business support hub for our region, Jackson and the surrounding areas. And there's other programs like the Trusted Connector Grant, some of the others, but really the MEDC has worked very closely with us, and we've done a good job, I think, over the years, being a good steward of those resources. And much of those programs really are just designed as a way for a local feet on the ground incubator, economic development organization like Lean Rocket Lab is, to connect, because we have like sort of our hand on the pulse of our community and the entrepreneurs here and what they need. And the MEDC says, hey, like you be our sort of conduit into your local community to get them what they need, from milestone grants to resources. And so sometimes people will see in the news, Lean Rocket Lab gets this $1 million grant, and they all think we're buying boats. And really what ends up happening is most of that money is we are sort of functioning as the screen, the steward to get grants directly into the small businesses and the entrepreneurs in our community and helping them be successful, making sure they go to companies that are doing the right things. And we're sort of like, being accountable that money is being used properly. And so we're super proud of that work. And I'm very thankful to the MEDC. And like Ken said, all the foundations that have made the lab possible and all of the investors and, Walton and Hearst Foundation and
Alro Steel, yeah.
We're going to get in trouble for naming people because we're not going to think about them all. But
I think we've done pretty good.
Yeah. The Glick Foundation.
Consumers Energy
Foundation. And so between those like 5 or 6 different things we've come up with, we've built this organization that's pretty sustainable. And I think it's going to live after us and bless the community for a long time. And that's something we're super proud of. Okay. But, in journalism, you're supposed to like lead with the hook, and we forgot. We like sort of saved the most exciting new thing for last, but I don't want to not talk about it. I want to let these guys weigh in on it. So we're really excited to announce our partnership with AMTC.
Let's go.
Advanced
Manufacturing
Training
Center.
There you go. We should say it together. Advanced Manufacturing Training Center.
So this is incredible. I think it's one of the best things that's happened in Jackson in a really long time. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Olivia and the Jackson Area Manufacturers Association and Kelly and ShopRat. This was all of them, their vision, their like wherewithal, and then just like an incredible partnership and investment with the community. I know like the Glick family and the Hearst family and all these people came alongside and built this incredible manufacturing and technology center. And so we've worked closely with those guys for a long time. They're incredible at what they do, workforce development and training. And we said, hey, there's this huge missing component at Lean Rocket Lab, and that we work with these manufacturers, these manufacturing technology companies and startups, and we have this like downtown office space. And in other communities, there's advanced manufacturing centers where they can incubate and grow and launch. And we said, is there a way that we can collaborate? And these guys were wide open to that. And so we now have a extension Lean Rocket Lab satellite incubator inside the AMTC building, the Hearst Navigation Tower, where we already have manufacturing technology startups that are Lean Rocket Lab members and clients incubating in the space. And the sort of like amazing, beautiful win-win for JAMA and ShopRat and everybody involved there is these tech companies are also serving as demonstrators of technology. So for the manufacturers in Jackson that are looking to learn about what's possible, they're able to see the technology, the newest, latest and greatest I4O and advanced manufacturing tech being demonstrated inside of AMTC. And the startups inside of AMTC are actually making training available to the kids and to the workforce participants at AMTC. And so now, if you're a student and you go to the Advanced Manufacturing Training Center, you're seeing advanced manufacturing and
so
some
cool,
of the
right?
latest stuff. And so it's just this like beautiful win-win-win partnership. We're so excited about it. We're collectively applying for other grants and things right now with ShopRat and JAMA, and we're working very closely with them. And we now have this, the Lean Rocket Lab has been this like bat signal to advanced manufacturing companies from around the world. And we've brought many of them to Michigan, and they land in Detroit and other places because we didn't have that like physical space for them to come and incubate and work. And so now we're bringing some of those companies anyways, when it makes sense. It doesn't always make sense, but some of them into the Advanced Manufacturing and Training Center and working with JAMA, and then they're turning around and blessing our community and our manufacturers. And so we're over the moon about it. We should have talked about it way sooner than the last 30 seconds, but I don't know if you guys have all been a part of that. Just want to add to it. Ken, I don't know if you have anything to say about it.
No, I think we should probably land the plane on this podcast. If you're on the podcast right now, whether it's on YouTube or one of the socials or Spotify or any of these platforms, here's what I would encourage you to do. If anything we've said interests you, if you want to plug into the ecosystem, if you're interested in moving Jackson County, Hillsdale County, Illinois County forward through entrepreneurship, you should probably come down to Lean Rocket Lab and meet the team. Okay. So that would just be what I would say to you. There's certainly, as you probably figured out, listening to the podcast, there's more to be said about all these topics.
I don't know if we made it more clear or less clear.
If this was helpful or not.
64 minutes in. What do you do?
We're all going to listen to this back and be like, okay.
They said words.
What?
It's all in the show notes.
Yeah.
Step by step.
So yeah, I would encourage you again, if you are an entrepreneur, you know an entrepreneur or a small business owner, you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, come to the Lean Rocket Lab. Okay, you can come in person, which is great. We encourage you to do that. Hop on our website. There's an intake form. It's pretty simple. You can fill it out. We'll welcome you and get you plugged in, right? So you don't need to know, okay, I'm coming in for XYZ program. Just come, fill out our little form, just tell us who you are, and then we'll get you plugged into the community. If you're a community member listening to this and you're like, man, what they do at Lean Rocket Lab kind of resonates with me, come talk to us, because I think you can participate in collectives. You can become a mentor for other entrepreneurs and startups. There's all kinds of ways to get you plugged in. If you are a foundation and you're looking for a great place to invest, Lean Rocket Lab is a great place to invest.
It is.
And just, kind of now that we're, 6-7 years into this, did I just do the 6-7 thing? Was that a mistake? You're not supposed to do that, right?
6-7.
Yeah.
Didn't even notice because I'm not young.
Yeah.
Then Liam's on his phone. He didn't even notice. He did.
You look around I said this earlier in the podcast, you look around every community. Every community is built by entrepreneurs. That's especially true for Jackson. If you come to Lean Rocket Lab, you actually walk around the hallways, so to speak. We actually tell some of those stories about entrepreneurs that built Jackson. Everything you see, everything was created by an entrepreneur. Somebody saw a problem, saw an opportunity, and went and made it happen. And so our community, our city was built by entrepreneurs. And I think if you had the vantage point of any of us on this podcast or anybody at Lean Rocket Lab, I think you would look at the world and say, man, the future is bright. Mm-hmm. It's so exciting. Mm-hmm. What people are working on, from just, economic mobility, from leaving their, minimum wage job and launching that business because of their passion, to watching companies scale from dozens to hundreds of employees, and how that's all of it, it's impacting our community. I think you would look at that and say, man, the future's bright. And so I think entrepreneurship's alive and the future is bright in Jackson County. And if you're an entrepreneur, I just want to say kudos and keep going. Let's rock and roll together. Come do it at Lean Rocket Lab with us. And if you're fired up as a community member and want to be a part of that, come talk to us. And I think we can do some great stuff together. So,
Man, motivational Ken. It's me every time.
Did anybody cry? Okay.
Makes me want to start another business.
Thank you guys for being on today, joining us as guests, and for being in the battle with us. So, and Sierra, you two back there, wherever you're at. Awesome. I think we're out.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
We don't have like a special sign out or anything like that?
I mean, I'm gonna do it.
Alex
You wanna
does.
say bye with me, but thanks for joining us. You know what to do. You gotta get on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, because the next one is coming soon, and you don't want to miss out. Come see us. Come see us at the lab. Bye.